Welcome back to the Marvel Podcast for gifted listeners. Now that we know about Marvel's two main webheads, let's go deeper into the Spiderverse and see who else is out there in the vast multiverse of Marvel and the Spiderverse. In this episode, we're going to go over all of the three big main events that comprise the Spider-Verse storyline in the comics. We're not really going to talk about the movie in this episode just because that is kind of a separate storyline and its own part of the multiverse. For now, we're going to focus on the Spider-Verse that happens in the comics. In Phase 1, we'll go over the original Spider-Verse event, which brought every Spider-Person together. Phase 2 will be all about Spider-Geddon, when everyone had to be brought together again. And Phase 3 will be the conclusion, which is the end of the Spider-Verse. Now, let's dive into the Spider-Verse. Before Peter Parker gets bit, before Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man, before any of the Spider-People gain their powers, there was the Master Weaver and the Web of Life and Destiny. This web would touch every part of the multiverse and grant certain individuals with spider powers, making them what is known as spider totems. There are multiple totems throughout the multiverse for different animals, such as Black Panther is the Panther totem. And a family of individuals known as the Inheritors, they are leech totems, so they feed on life energy of different totems. As they were feeding on different totems throughout the multiverse, they realized that spider totems were the most delicious, and gave them the most power. So after they took over Earth-001, known as Loom World, they chained the Master Weaver, and basically forced him to open portals all across the multiverse for them. The main inheritor that we see first, that we learn about, is Morlun. Morlun originally came to Earth-616, which is Marvel's main universe, and he tried to feed on the life energy of the first Spider Totem in that universe, who was Ezekiel Sims. You may recognize Ezekiel Sims from the Madam Web movie. Honestly, the Madam Web movie, it had the bones to make a great beginning of a Spider-Verse, especially with Julia Carpenter, who eventually helps with the Web of Life and Destiny. But they just couldn't pull it off. So, after Sims manages to escape and he starts to research Morlun and the Inheritors. Then, when Peter Parker comes onto the scene as Spider-Man, Ezekiel knows that he must warn him about Morlun. So, Morlun travels back to 616 to feed on Peter because, delicious spider totem. And the two begin to fight. The very first punch that Morlun delivers to Peter is one he describes as the hardest punch he's ever taken. And he's fought the Hulk. And now that Morlun has made physical contact with Peter, he's able to track him through his scent, quote unquote. After being attacked for multiple days, Peter manages to get a sample of Morlun's blood, and he escapes to analyze it. Unfortunately, because Morlun can track him, he doesn't have much time to figure stuff out. But what he does figure out is Morlun is weak to radiation. And, since Peter's blood is already irradiated, which we know from the previous episode when he gave a blood transfusion to Aunt May, he decides to just load his blood up with radiation. Since he knew that his body could handle the radiation, he just loaded it up. So then, Morlun does track down Peter again and tries to feed on him. And when he does, Morlun just absorbs all of this radiation and just becomes extremely weak. Peter wasn't going to kill him because Spider-Man doesn't kill. But Ezekiel Sims is there for the assist and shoots Morlun, crumbling him into dust. A few months later, Morlun somehow mysteriously returns, which we later find out is because his family has mastered cloning technology. And he plagues Peter with dreams of his impending death. After Morlun tracks Peter down again and beats him to the point of plucking out an eye, Morlun leaves Peter after finding out that Peter is dying, just because it's like spoiled meat, kind of. But after realizing his hunger, Moreland does go to the hospital and attacks again. MJ goes to defend Peter, and Moreland hurts MJ. And this event does take place before the One More Day storyline, so the two are married currently in this continuity. Peter's mutation pushes farther, and he evolves into a giant spider-like creature, similar to something we saw in a plotline in Spider-Man the Animated Series, if you have ever seen that 90s animated show. With this newfound evolution, Peter actually does kill Moreland for a second time. Eventually, he does turn back into his human form. Peter, in this form, was known as the Other, which we learn is a key point, which is a key player in the Spiderverse and the Inheritors prophecy. But then, a crocodile cult in Wakanda resurrects Moreland once more, in hopes that he will consume the Panther Totem for them in order to weaken Wakanda. Shuri and a witch doctor stop Moreland and sentence him to limbo. Now, we don't know how he escapes limbo, but he does at that point. But he has developed a fear of 616 because he's died 3 times on this earth. He hungers. So he starts his hunt for more Spider Totems. His first stop is on Earth 311, which is an Earth that takes place in 1602. The Peter Parker of this Earth gains his spider abilities when he is in the colony of Roanoke in the colonies of America. Moreland finds this Peter at the Grand Theater, and him and Peter engage in a fight. Moreland, however, is too strong, and Peter broke his hand trying to punch him. After destroying the theater, Moreland used a fallen beam as a stake and impaled Peter, killing him and absorbing his life force. The next universe Moreland goes to has a very young Spider Totem. This tome is Patton Parnell, who he is actually named after comedians Oswald Patton and Chris Parnell. Patton has gone to an experimental lab with his friend, Sarah, where he is bitten by a giant red spider. Later, when he was at home and his drunken uncle tried to abuse him, he transformed into a giant man spider and killed his uncle. Feeling the hunger, he soon lured a school bully to his house to attack him as well. Sarah would show up at Patton's house, and he would bite her on the neck. Moreland would soon show up and say that Patton is unripe, but he will do as an appetizer. Moreland feeds and moves on to the next universe. He went to the universe that was based off the TV show Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends that aired in the 80s. Moreland kills this Peter, as well as his friends Iceman and Firestar. After these killings happen, we see the Spiders of 616 all converge on a location, and Silk, who is Cindy Moon, a girl who was bit at the same time as Peter, but locked away, that she senses that the great web of life and destiny. This is confirmed when spiders from all different Earths meet him and bring them to Earth 13, which is known as the Spider Safe Haven. There, 616 Peter meets various versions of himself, which includes a Spider-Man, which never gave up the Enigma Force, which is a power that basically makes him a god. The Enigma Force is something known throughout the Marvel Universe that multiple heroes can't possess. The Force does choose who can possess it. And so the Peter of Earth 13 has saved this power. They explained to 616 Peter that the Inheritors are on a warpath to wipe out all Spider Totems across the Spider-Verse, and they have to band together, and they want 616 Peter to lead them, since he is the one who has defeated Moreland before. After this, on Earth 1610, Miles and Jessica Drew are met by Vera, who is the sister of Moreland. She easily takes down Miles, but then a time-displaced superior Spider-Man, Spider-Punk, who we will use that to distinguish him, but he actually does hate to be called that because he is Spider-Man. He has earned that name. And a Spider-Man known as Spider Assassin all arrive, quickly dispose of Vera's hunting dogs, who are chained versions of Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery, and they take Miles and Jess with them to Earth 13. As they leave 1610, Miles tells Vera she has made it personal when we see that Vera has destroyed Rio Morales' gravestone. After this, the Spider Army of Earth 13 find out that there is another Spider Army in another dimension. They take 3 teams to find out who this other group of spiders is. They tell Silk to stay on Earth 13 because she is the bride, which is one of the 3 most important spider totems, which are the bride, the other, and the scion. The inheritors are sick of waiting around because they are hungry, so they go to Earth 13 to feed. Moreland, his brother Genix, and their father Solus arrive and threaten the spiders. Captain Universe, who is the Spider-Man of that Earth, tells the inheritors that they were stupid for coming to their safe haven, and while he has this power. Solus attacks Captain Universe and explains that yes, the life energy of the Enigma Force is too strong for any of his children to devour, but because Moreland is more powerful, he does absorb the life essence of Captain Universe. Moreland then takes Benji, an infant who is Mayday Parker's younger brother. Mayday Parker is Spider-Girl from an alternate timeline where Peter and Mary Jane stay married, and they have a daughter, and eventually a son. In that universe, Moreland killed Peter Parker, but Mayday was able to escape with Benji. Just as Benji is taken away, the 616 Pier arrives with reinforcements, most notably Kuya Yamashiro, the Spider-Man of Earth 511778, which is the Spider-Man from the 1978's Japanese television show that we mentioned in episode 2. And with him, he brought his trusty mech Leopardon, which was able to slow down Solus and allow the spiders to escape to a new world. While in this new world, Pier checked in with the other teams. Miles and a younger Pier have recruited a few more spiders. Meanwhile, Silk is trapped on an irradiated world that's post-nuclear fallout. Meanwhile, a team of spider clones are on Loom World, Earth 001. Jessica Drew disguises herself as one of the Inheritor's servants, and she manages to get to the Master Weaver and talk to him. The Master Weaver gives her the Scroll of Prophecies, which is a prophecy that the Inheritors follow. She does not have enough charge on her web watch that allows her to teleport through the multiverse to teleport her whole self. So instead, she sends the 616 Peter the prophecy. And the rest of the clones destroy the cloning machines that the Inheritors have been using to create new bodies. Because every time they die, they would just use these boots to get new bodies. Meanwhile, Peter gets a call from Silk for all the spiders to come to the irradiated world of Earth 3145. The other spiders arrive and originally have a hard time with the radiation of the world. But Peter quickly notices that there's web arrows that Cindy has set up, leading them to a fallout shelter. And that shelter was the totem of that Earth, who was revealed to be Uncle Ben. After learning that on his Earth, Peter and May both die to the Emerald Elf, who is that Earth's Green Goblin, he gave up being Spider-Man. Then, the Otto Octavius of that world miscalculated something and destroyed the whole world, all while Ben was hidden away in the bunker. We also get to learn what the prophecy says. It states that the Spider Totems will be the end of the Inheritors, and that's why they've been hunting them. But if the Inheritors gather the Scion, who's Benji, the other, who is Kane, which is another one of Peter Parker's clones, and the bride, who is Silk, and they sacrifice them all in a ritual, then there will be no more Spider Totems created, and thus the Inheritors only have to kill the existing Spider Totems. The only problem is that Silk, Kane, and Benji are all already on Loom World, which is where the Inheritors need to do this ritualistic sacrifice. Kane transforms into the giant spider beast that we had seen Peter transform into, and he transforms into the true form of the other. In this form, he uses his sharp legs to stab Solus. After Cain kills Solus, Morlun and his brother Demas tag team and defeat Cain and get his blood for the ritual. Morlun says, well, we don't need him alive, we just need his blood. Before the Inheritors can take Silk, the rest of the Web Warriors show up to fight the Inheritors, and it's an all-out brawl between the Inheritors and the Spiders. Check the Instagram to see what this looked like in the comics. But the Inheritors do still wind up grabbing Silk. Peter and Otto break off from the main battle so that they can hopefully stop the ritual from happening. When they get there, the blood of Cain, who is known as the Other, and Silk have already been spilled, damaging the web of life and destiny. When Peter and Otto show up to stop the ritual, they engage in a fight between two Spider-Men and two Inheritors. While doing this, the Ben from the Irradiate Earth and Spider-Ham sneak over to the web where Benji is being held. Ben slips away with Benji to Benji's home universe, and Spider-Ham takes the infant's place. After Morlun is able to get away from the two Spider-Men, he opens the bundle to spill Benji's blood, and he gets a pig huff to the face, courtesy of Spider-Ham. Outside of the main area, the fight between Spiders and the Inheritors rages on. Through a portal, Karn, the exiled Inheritor, shows up with even more Spiders to join the fight, and he himself joins in on the fight against his family, who had disowned him and cast him out. Peter then pauses his fight with Morlun to call Miguel O'Hara and ask him if it's ready. Miguel is like, it's almost. And he's like, alright, skip the spin ribs, like, if it's gonna work. So Miguel goes, alright, pushes a button. A portal opens above the battlefield, and Leopardon appears to aid the fight and turn the tide. Inside, with the Spiders and Morlun and Demas, Mayday is there to take the crystal holding the life essence of Solus, and is debating crushing it. Meanwhile, Otto has snuck off and killed the Master Weaver, because he doesn't want some great web of life and destiny deciding his future, because he is still the arrogant Otto Octavius. With the Master Weaver being killed, Peter yells at Otto and explains that this is what sets the Spiders apart from the Inheritors and makes them heroes, and it's that they do not kill. This gives Mayday reflection, and she doesn't crush the crystal, because if she killed their father, then she wouldn't be any better than them for killing her father. With Peter being distracted by this, Morlun grabs him and begins to feed on his life essence. With Morlun in such close quarters, Peter opens a portal to Earth 3145, and when they land there, Morlun is significantly weakened because of how much radiation there is. When Peter believes that he is trapped, and he has sacrificed himself for the greater good of all spiders, a silky strand of webbing grabs him and pulls him up. When we look back outside, the Spiders have won, and they're tossing all the Inheritors to Earth 3145. Then back at the Web of Life and Destiny, Peter knocks out Otto, and Karn comes in and realizes that it's his responsibility to take on the role of Master Weaver, after it's revealed that the Master Weaver is actually an older version of himself. He does explain that time doesn't really work the same on Earth 001, so don't think too hard about it. Karn then repairs the web enough so that the Spiders can return to their home Earths and times. When Otto is sent back to his proper time, he does forget about the battle with the Inheritors. Peter, Silk, and 616 Jessica Drew return to their homes. Spider UK, however, is informed that his Earth no longer exists due to what he correctly assumes are incursions. So, him and Anya, who is Spider-Girl of 616, stay behind, and they'll be the new Web Warriors who protect the Earths that have lost their spiders. And Mayday returns to her home Earth and is reunited with her brother and mother, who she thought her mother had died. And Ben stays in that universe to be something that Ben Parker has never had the chance to do, be a grandfather. So, before we move on to Phase 2, we're going to just do a brief recap of the beginning of the Spiderverse, just because it is a lot of information. Basically, there is a spider god who uses the web of life and destiny to bestow spider powers on individuals across the multiverse. and they then become spider totems. All of these totems are connected through the web of life and destiny. A family of energy vampires, who are leech totems, feed on these spider totems throughout the multiverse because of prophecy has foretold of their downfall if the totems were to live. After fighting the Peter Parker of Earth 616 and dying a few times, an inheritor known as Morlun hunts spiders across the multiverse, and eventually all the living spider totems team up to save their kind. They win the day by destroying the inheritor's cloning technology, trapping them on an irradiated world that makes them extremely weak. Two spider people do not return to their home, as they will protect the Earths that no longer have spider totems. Now, on to the next part of the story, with Phase 2. The next part of the Spiderverse event is known as Spider-Geddon, which, funny as enough, is a term coined by the Spider-Man of Earth 1048, which is the Insomniac Spider-Man game universe. During the events of Secret Wars, when multiple Earths were destroyed, some of the spiders lost their worlds and joined Spider UK and Anya at their base on Loomworld. They decided to set up spider bots to check in on the inheritors and make sure they hadn't escaped. At the same time on Earth 616, Otto managed to get his hands on the Jackal and Gen X's cloning technology and create multiple bodies for himself. The Web Warriors go to confront him and tell Otto that the inheritors might be able to hack his technology. Otto, being the arrogant bastard he is, tells him that that's impossible because he's just too smart. There's no way that they could do that. When they try to explain that Karn saw it, he brushes it off, being like, just your superstitions and your web of life and destiny, blah, blah, blah. But when Octavia, who is a female variant of Otto, shows him that he was indeed hacked, Morlun bursts from one of the cloning tubes in a brand new body. Soon the rest of the family emerges. Verna kills Spider UK and Gen X, and Gen X was going to kill Otto, but he said he wasn't a pure totem, so he didn't care for him. As Gen X tries to bring back all the inheritors, Octavia initiates the self-destruct sequence on the lab. Spider-Gwen from Earth 35 tells the other spiders to web off the lab and she'll portal out. Unfortunately, Vera overpowers her and the remaining inheritors are cloned and the factory is blown up with Gwen still inside. We do learn that she did survive this and was just transported to a different Earth, but for now the spiders think that she is dead. The Web Warriors return to Loomworld to make their next plan. Otto, Octavia, and Spider-Punk believe that they should kill the inheritors this time, while Miles thinks that they should get Peter's help again, since he was a pivotal in winning the battle last time these two forces faced off. Karn warns the spiders that if Solus is resurrected, it will be harder for the spiders to win this time. Vera then goes to the irradiated Earth and begins searching for the crystal holding her father's essence. Vera does attack Karn, and Karn stabs her with one of his mechanical arms. But because Karn is part of the web of life and destiny, he has thus become a spider totem, so she is able to absorb his life force, killing the Master Weaver. Meanwhile, during recruitment, Otto changes into his superior Spider-Man outfit, because this is a matter of spiders. He then recruits Kane, who lived after the events of Spiderverse, because multiversal shenanigans in comics. Spider-Ham had gone and recruited Penny Parker, and Miles was helping Peter fight Morlun on 616. Peter breaks off and fights Morlun solo, while Miles goes off to recruit other spiders to his side, his and Peter's side of the fight. In their efforts, they recruit Spider-Man and Spinneret from Earth 18119. This is an older Peter Parker whose marriage wasn't erased during One More Day, and Mary Jane was using tech to augment Peter's powers to help him in the field. There's also Spider-Ben and Petey from Earth 91918, and on this Earth, Peter gets bitten earlier than his 616 counterpart, and after his Uncle Ben is shot, he receives a blood transfusion from Peter, and also receives his spider powers. which is weird because, when Aunt May receives the blood transfusion, she almost dies. And the final two recruits for the, let's not kill the inheritor side are Penny Parker, who Spider-Ham recruited, who she pilots the Spider Mech, and Silk. On the other side, Otto has assembled a team that is okay with taking out the inheritors permanently. This team consists of Spider's Man, which is a Spider-Man who's composed of thousands of spiders that believe that he is Peter Parker. And they're all kind of just a weird mass inside a Spider-Man costume. And he's a little ravenous. He's a little bloodthirsty. Web-Slinger, who is a cowboy Spider-Man with a pair of 6-shooters, and an 8-armed Spider-Man who's actually Norman Osborn of his universe. And we also, on this side, have Spider-Punk and Takuya, who is the Japanese Spider-Man who pilots Leopardon. Miles' team plans an assault on the New U cloning facility, where they believe that Gen X is planning to use cloning technology to revive Solus. At the New U facility, Gen X has already made the clone of Solus, but it is just a big dumb empty shell because there is no life essence to it, because Vera has yet to return with the crystal containing the essence of Solus. The inheritors attack Team Miles on the floor above the cloning room. They plan to blow up the facility when they are attacked. During the fight, Leopardon's sword smashes into the building, and Otto's team arrives to help in the fight. Meanwhile, in the cloning room, Otto and Octavia have bricked up the cloning process so that it cannot be used again. Before they are able to destroy the tubes, though, the inheritors attack and the spiders flee to Leopardon. Some of them go to Earth 13 to regroup. On that Earth, they see a statue that was erected to honor that Earth's Peter. But they are soon pulled back to Leopardon when Spider-Punk informs them that Solus has been revived. When they're back, Otto realizes that Norman Osborn cannot be trusted and sends him back to his world. And Spider's Man joins him. After this, Otto and Miles come to a compromise. Miles will keep finding more recruits to up their numbers, while Otto and the other geniuses figure out a way to stop the inheritors. But it is revealed that Norman and Spiders did not in fact go back to Norman's home Earth. They instead traveled to Loomworld, and Norman wants to seal 616 from the rest of the multiverse and destroy the web of life and destiny. Also, Spider's Man eats Karn's dead body, because weird, and comics. Spider's Man then sends hundreds of spiders across the web of life and destiny, so that his consciousness can be spread across the multiverse. He and Norman then leave Loomworld and destroy the web of life and destiny. Back on Earth 616, all the web watches that the spiders use to traverse dimensions are destroyed. While trying to traverse the multiverse, Otto and Ben Reilly sneak off to the New U facility. While there, Otto strikes down Ben and gives him over to the inheritors in exchange for them leaving 616 and the spiders alone. Insomniac Spider-Man had followed Otto and Ben and stops Otto after seeing the betrayal. But it's revealed that because Ben has died and resurrected 27 times, he essentially gave Gen X food poisoning when he consumed him. Meanwhile, back on Leopardon, the Enigma Force that gave 813 Peter his cosmic powers showed up and questioned the spiders for summoning him, saying he is a force that chooses who is worthy and is not summoned, and asked the spiders if any of them believed themselves to be worthy. And the Enigma Force starts naming off basically all the tragedies that befall spiders. Oh, could you save Uncle Ben? Could you save your father? Could you save Gwen Stacy? Could you save your Peter Parker? Whatever it is. And Miles, fed up with it, tells the Enigma Force, yo, listen, none of us are going to be worthy of whatever power you are going to give us. So you know what? Just leave and we will figure this out on our own. Well, the Enigma Force went, yep, nope, this is my host, and imbued Miles with the power cosmic. The spiders now take the fight to the inheritors. Miles attacks Solus with the power cosmic, making sure Solus cannot get his hands on him, since that's how he fed on Peter from Earth 13. While the fighting took place, during the big fight, the inheritors were overpowering people. Otto and Octavia were working out a solution to stop the cloning and somehow defeat the inheritors without killing them. And when all seemed lost, the Peter and MJ from Earth 18119 gave each other a goodbye kiss. Then suddenly, a portal opens, and their daughter Spiderling comes through a portal with Mayday Parker and 616 Spider-Girl Anya. It is revealed that Spiderling is the new web weaver and has access to the web of life and destiny. With this new power, she empowers her two other Spider-Woman teammates with new and improved powers and strength, and they help beat down the Inheritors. Mayday focuses on DMS to get revenge for her father. All the spiders fighting are still being overpowered until Gwen opens a portal with a full army of spiders to help, including 616 Peter. Peter goes to find out what Otto and Octavia plan to do while the rest fight on. Otto tells Peter that they have to kill the Inheritors, but the Inheritors won't be dead. He has created new clone bodies for them, but as babies, and has removed their memories. The reason that he removes their memories is because Solus was actually the one that instilled the bloodlust in his children. His children didn't really care about feeding on the spider totems until their father basically brainwashed them, being like, no, spiders are bad, we must feed on the spiders, we have to kill all the spiders. So if they're not raised by Solus, then their need for hunger for the totems isn't going to be there. And Otto actually modified their DNA so that they can just eat normal food. Peter reluctantly agrees and pulls up the communicators so that all the spiders can hear what Otto's plan is. After everyone knows what the plan is, the fight is on. Miles uses the cosmic power to wield Leopardon's sword Vigor to kill Solus, and then every spider person teams up and holds the remaining Inheritors so that Miles can destroy their old bodies with the Enigma Force. After the battle is over and the babies are revealed, 616 Peter mentions that someone has to raise the babies, saying, hey, some of you guys have kids, like, y'all think you could do something? But then Spider-Man, who is a spider variant from Earth 3123, who is Aunt May, who was bitten by the spider and became the Amazing Spider-Man, says that she'll do it. She misses the pitter-patter of little feet. So Spider-Man and Spiderling return to Loomworld, where Spider-Man will raise the baby Inheritors, and Spiderling can repair the web of life and destiny. The other spiders return home, and the Spiderverse is once again saved. Or, so we think. So we're going to do another quick recap of Spider-Geddon, then move on to Phase 3, which will be the end of the Spiderverse. So in Phase 2, the spiders who had homes went home. After the incursions of Secret Wars, some spiders were without their homes. They were the web warriors who monitored the Inheritors that had been trapped on a radioactive world. Doc Ock, who was in a new body, was using the Jackal's old cloning technology to make backup bodies for himself, same as the Inheritors did. But the Inheritors were able to hack his system and create new bodies on 616. After gaining spiders and Miles receiving the power cosmic, there is an all-out assault on the Inheritors. Miles kills Solus with Leopardon's sword and uses the power cosmic to destroy the bodies of the other Inheritors. The remaining Inheritors were then made into infants and would go on to be raised by Spider-Man, while Spiderling, who was a multiversal child of Peter Parker and MJ, repaired the web of life and destiny that a Norman Osborn spider variant had destroyed. Now, let's go to the end of the Spiderverse in Phase 3. So, like the Spiderverse does, we go back to Moreland, who, when he eventually traversed his way back to Loomworld after the event of Spider-Geddon, he discovered that Spider-Man has devoured the babies that after she was corrupted by the Spider Queen Shathra. Shathra is the daughter of two goddesses. She was tasked with creating a celestial map of the multiverse, when her younger sister Neith had a better design, which was the web of life and destiny, and the job was given to Neith. Enraged at this, Shathra was put into the primal strand of the great web of life and destiny. When Spiderling was repairing the web, she accidentally touched the primal strand, released Shathra. Shathra then sent out spider wasps and infected Spiderling, as well as Spider-Man, turning them into spider-wasp creatures. In 616, New York City, Peter stops an armored robbery, but soon Moreland shows up, and Peter fights back almost immediately. Kind of like a PTSD thing. As soon as he sees Moreland, it's go time. He is soon helped by the other 616 spiders of Miles Morales, Jessica Drew, and Silk. During the fight, a portal opens, and Spider-Punk, Spider-Man Noir, and Ghost Spider, aka Spider-Gwen, all show up, but they have all been corrupted by Shathra. Spider-Man Noir stabs Jessica with a dagger, and she begins to unravel. It's revealed that this dagger can sever someone from the web of life and destiny, and make it so that they never existed. As in, they never got their spider powers, and they never became a spider totem. The remaining 616 spiders are saved by Spider-Girl, who is now going by Arana, and they are brought to a world known as 616 Beta, which looks very much like the Golden/Silver Age comics. It's described as a world before 616 existed. There they met with Webweaver, a spider variant who's a fashion designer, Spinstress, who is basically a Disney princess Spider-Man, and Spider Hunter, a variant of Kraven who became a spider totem. They also meet Julia Carpenter, aka Madam Web. She explains that 616 Peter is the chosen one in the prophecies, and he can end Shathra, and that all 616 spiders are immune to being turned into spider wasps. Miles, on the other hand, is a spider of two worlds. So when he was stung back on 616 by one of the spider wasps, but he was able to fight off Shathra's control long enough to leave 616 Beta so that she wouldn't know where they were. Meanwhile, Silk, Webweaver, and Spinstress all travel to 616 with Moreland to retrieve the dagger so that Moreland can use it to sever Shathra from the web of life and destiny. During this conflict, Spinstress is bit by one of the spider wasps, and this allows her to find out that Peter, Spider Thief, who is a Black Cat Spider-Man variant, and Ariana are headed to a temple in Central America to find an idol that can write new strands of the web of life and destiny and save Jessica. When Shathra finds this out, she sends every spider-wasp person to that location. During this, Ghost Spider stabs 616 Peter with the dagger and unravels him, making it so that Peter never got bit by that spider and was never part of the web of life and destiny. Meanwhile, back on Loom World, Miles is about to attack Shathra with Spider Hunter when he finds out she killed Peter and gives her a giant venom blast. But his power is not enough. After he is weak, he is brought to a dungeon where he meets all the spiders that could not be changed into wasps, including Spinneret, which we met in the Spider-Geddon event, a sentient spider buggy, and the other is the dead Peter Parker from Mayday's Earth, who has been reborn as the new Other, and a 8-bit video game Spider-Man. In the safe world, it is revealed that there is a spider hero in this world that could be the chosen one, and it's none other than Peter Palmer from Amazing Fantasy 15. I did actually post this typo on the Instagram page because I thought it was a typo, but turns out it wasn't. And this is a pre-Uncle Ben Death Spider-Man, so he is yet to have the "with great power comes great responsibility" instilled in him. Just then, across town at Oscorp on 616, we see a lab putting together a portal, and a strand of the web of life and destiny appear when they turn on this portal. And it was sent from the Earth with Norman Osborn's Spider-Man, and the lab tech who encounters it is none other than Peter Parker. We then get to see what Peter's life turned out like without being bit by the spider. The spider bites Cindy Moon first, and she still continues on to be Silk. Peter is now at home when the robber shows up to Aunt May and Uncle Ben's house, and he heroically charges at the robber, but he does get shot in the leg. But he does save both Aunt May and Uncle Ben. He then goes on to become best friends with Flash Thompson, who was inspired by Peter's bravery. Before college, Peter contacts Silk and meets with her. He becomes her gadget guy and becomes a close friend. After graduating from college, Peter gets a job at Oscorp, and now we're back at present day. Madam Web's team is still at a loss of what to do. Moreland says if they had the dagger, then they can remove a spider from reality. And they should just use it on Shathra, and it should undo everything. Meanwhile, Spider Hunter returns and tells them that he knows where the incorruptible spiders are being held. Spider Thief then reveals that she was able to snag the dagger and gives it to Moreland to use. Madam Web, the Spider Hunter, and Spider Thief go to rescue the non-turned spiders, while Moreland, Silk, Webweaver, and Peter Palmer go and try to stab Shathra. They bring Moreland webbed up and are disguised as turned spiders. With a portal opening, allowing Palmer to distract Shathra, Moreland stabs her. But nothing happens. She reveals that the dagger only works on spider totems. Moreland, realizing he has been defeated, decides he's going to have one last meal and feed on the fabled Spider Bride, aka Silk. Fighting back, Silk grabs the dagger and slashes Moreland, who starts to glow, and it shows that the web of life and destiny begins to heal itself. Because Moreland consumed millions of spider totems, he is a spider totem himself. While Moreland is freaking out, Anya is able to get a good look at the dagger and realize that she had been reading it wrong this whole time. Silk wasn't the Spider Bride, she was the Spider Queen. She was the chosen one. With this knowledge, Silk stabs Moreland with the dagger, and the millions of spider souls leave him, and they start to repair the web of life and destiny all across the multiverse. Shathra returns and grows to a larger size, and the battle gets moved to 616. Without a chosen one to stop her, they send a barrage of Peter Parkers, thinking, hey, one might be able to stop her, because prophecy said a Peter Parker can stop her. But this barrage of Peter Parkers is not enough. Once again, like we've seen in the previous two events, a portal opens and more spider reinforcements come, including several spider mechs. Even with the might of all the spiders, she still can't be stopped, because not 616 Peter. Then, through a portal, 616 Peter shows with a great web shooter that has a piece of the web of life and destiny. He points at Shathra and goes, "The whip." He physically says "the whip," and shoots a giant web at her. The web vanishes her away to an ethereal plane and rids her of her vengeful spirit that she had been holding on to ever since her job had been given to her younger sister. As the spiders are celebrating, the first spider totem, Neath, the one who created the web of life and destiny, appears and grants the spider totems the artifact that was destroyed in the South American temple. With this, Spider-Girl is able to reweave parts of the web of life and destiny that had been severed by Shathra's minions. First, she restored Jessica Drew. Then she used her ability to reweave Peter's life as Spider-Man back into existence. Unfortunately, when she does this, he does lose Uncle Ben once again. Peter then dials Aunt May and asks how she's doing, and decides to do Thursday dinners with her, like he had been doing with her and Uncle Ben in an alternate life. But wait, there is still more. They restore Kane, the Scarlet Spider, and more spider that no one remembers, and that's Spider-Boy from 616. He was a sort of sidekick to Peter that wasn't introduced until the issue that he was restored in. But it seems he wasn't destined to last. After a few adventures with Peter, he was then sent into the Spider Society with Miguel O'Hara, or Anya, depending on the universe, and we really haven't heard from him since. But on to the end of the story. After the Spiderverse is restored, and the spiders are about to go home, they ask Peter about what's next, since he is the de facto leader. But he just responds that Cindy is now the chosen one, and his city needs their friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and jumps into action to stop some bad guys from some petty crime, thus ending the Spider-Verse as we know it. Also, we see Moreland as a husk of his former self after losing all of his nutrients, and he cannot feed anymore. And that, gifted listeners, is the Spider-Verse in all its comics glory. Much more complicated than the animated movies, which I do love. Maybe we'll see more Spider-Verse events in the future, but for now, it has ended. Now, let's take a look at top 5 things we learned in today's episode. Number 1. In Earth 001 of the multiverse, there was a family of creatures that fed on the life essence of spider totems. These were beings that were imbued with spider powers. and this family were known as the Inheritors. Number 2, Peter Parker from Earth 616, which is the main Marvel continuity, is the chosen one throughout the Spiderverse, because he was the first to fight and beat one of the Inheritors. Number 3, the Spiders of the Multiverse were able to win the first Totem War because they trapped the Inheritors on Earth that had so much radiation that the Inheritors were extremely weak. Number 4, the Spiders won the second coming of the Inheritors by turning them into babies and having a spider person known as Spider-Man, who was an Aunt May who gained spider powers, be their caretaker. And number 5, this was a massive event that spanned 22 years from the introduction of Morlun in 2001, in a 2001 issue of Spider-Man, until 2023 issue of Spider-Man, which is where the Spider-Verse has ended. If you'd like me to do an episode about spider variants, I'd love to, because oh my god, there's so many of them, so weird, and I only touched on the ones that played major parts in the story. If you want to see the comic panels that showed all the Spider people, I will post them on the Instagram along with the announcement of this episode. Next episode, we're going to do a deep dive into Luke Cage, Marvel's first black superhero to have his own solo series. It will be a similar episode structure to the Spider-Man episode, where we will follow his journey through the main 616 universe and see what the hero is up to in modern-day comics. This episode was written, recorded, and edited by myself, James Basinski. Intro music sourced from freesound.org, as well as the timeline music and the outro music. You can find us on Instagram at TMPFGL, YouTube at the Marvel Podcast for Gifted Listeners. And any feedback, questions, or suggestions can be emailed to tmpfgl@gmail.com. Until next time, gifted listeners, thank you for listening, and Excelsior!